So after 31 years of professional tennis, that also included a record 7 Olympic Games, 18 Grand Slams later, Leander Paes now becomes the first Asian man and the first ever Indian to be included in the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Leander, thank you so much for speaking to India today. Many, many congratulations first up. And my question to you is going to be, from that 12-year-old boy that was sent bag and baggage to Chennai, did you ever think at that time that this is where you'll reach in the International Hall of Fame?
Good evening. No, I never really had that in my mind to really worry about rewriting the history books or the Hall of Fame or the Grand Slams. I just had a big dream in my head and a lot of passion in my heart. So to come from playing gully cricket and gully football on Park Street in Kolkata to now roaming the Hall of Fame at Newport, Rhode Island has been quite a journey. There have been tremendous ups and downs, and this accolade, I can name you at least 1 million people, if not 1.4 billion people, that this accolade belongs to my parents, to my siblings, to every single one of those 192 doubles and mixed doubles partners I've had, to my coaches, my trainers, my managers, all across the world. I humbly bow my head and say thank you to my Davis Cup captains and to every single Indian out there. A big gratitude for all the support, especially through the tough times through my career and the good ones. This one belongs to all of you.
Okay, I mentioned right at the start of the interview, 31 years of professional tennis. And of course, I'm going to add another 10 odd years before that. So 40 plus years of, playing tennis. Suddenly, 2 years ago, you retired. Has it been tough staying away from the tennis court? Because that would have been your life.
No, it's actually been really rewarding and really nice because most athletes have a professional career of about 10 years. If they're really lucky, they have a professional career of about 18 years. But having played professional tennis for 32 years, and like you so rightly pointed out, 10 years prior to that, preparing for that, it's been a 42-year journey. And the hotels, the airports, the aeroplanes, the lounges, the arenas, the playing stadiums, the locker rooms, the loneliness of traveling the world in an individual sport has definitely taken its toll. I love being around family. I'm spending a lot of time with my parents who are aging at the moment and enjoying my conversations and my breakfasts and dinners with them. Also to rekindle all the friendships that I've had from my youth and now spending a lot of time with them playing golf or playing sport or gym training, playing football is great fun. Also with the work that I do in inspiring kids all across the world, that if I could achieve excellence, then so can they. It's been very rewarding to now having retired from playing my last match on the 7th of March, 2020 to now where I'm at in my life. It still has its challenges, still has its lonely, tough spots, but at least now I have my loved ones around me, which makes life a lot easier.
Okay, life's become easy for you, but life hasn't become easy for an Indian tennis fan. That's because, in cricket, I cover a lot of cricket. We often keep saying, where is the next Kapil Dev? We haven't found the answer to that. And my question to you is, where is the next Leander Paes? Because there has been a bit of a lull that we're experiencing with you not being there. Mahesh retired a few years before that. Sania Mirza no more on the tennis court. Where is the next generation of Indian tennis players? That's the question everyone's asking.
Well, I think Indian tennis is going through a bit of a void at the moment, but from winning Junior Wimbledon in 1990, I believe that I inspired a lot of the youngsters to come out there and play sport. From winning the Olympic medal in 1996, one inspired Mahesh to come out of college in America at Ole Miss and play doubles with me, inspired Sania to win her Grand Slams, inspired a lot of tennis and made tennis really cool. Also winning that Olympic medal in singles at Atlanta also inspired a lot of Olympic individual champions like Chili Rathore. One is in shooting. You got Gagan and you got Abhinav Bindra who won theirs in shooting. Also, when a young Neeraj Chopra comes by and says, "Paji, आपका तो पोस्टर हमारे स्टेडियम में देखे मैंने भी सोचा कि मैं भी जीत सकता हूँ. Leander Paes जीते हैं तो मैं भी जीत सकता हूँ." It's a very gratifying feeling. But in that, I feel like the feeder system, the grassroots level encouragement in sport and the feeder system is a big void, not just in tennis, but in most other sports other than cricket. And I must commend the BCCI and the cricketing governing body for doing a phenomenal job through their state associations, through their rural cricket academies, on how you've got champions like an MS Dhoni coming out of Jharkhand, how you got young kids coming out of, you look at Hardik Pandya, one of my favorites, who's coming out of places when most people wouldn't think that you'd have champions coming out of there. And I feel Hardik will make a phenomenal captain also down the track. I feel that other sporting governance should actually learn from cricket and basically pick up on how you nurture talent in tier 2, tier 3 cities and go to rural areas and pick out talent and nurture them. So that is my next journey. That is my next passion after achieving all the accolades I have achieved. To now, in the next 15 years, my passion is to get 250 million kids across the country playing sport. And I feel that that will look after the grassroots sports education and then have a feeder system so that you have youngsters in different sports coming up to challenge the guys at the top of the pyramid.
That's heartening news to hear someone like a Leander Paes now investing in grassroots programs, because ask any sport expert, he says you have to look after grassroots. Only then can you have a robust sporting system in place. It's lovely to know that you'll be investing in that, Leander. In fact, I had a conversation with your father once, Dr. Paes. He stressed a lot on grassroots as well. I know he worked a lot into grassroots sport, but the other point, Leander, is going to be that one is looking after grassroots. Then on the other hand, you have someone who's your number one player in singles right now in a Sumit Nadal, who comes out and says that, listen, I only have about 80,000 rupees, Indian rupees in my bank account. When you have a scenario like that, the number one player saying that, what are the chances of anyone then wanting to take up tennis and making a life out of it?
So there are multiple layers there. One is that with my dad, as you rightly mentioned, taking off from the last conversation, is that he spent 60 years getting 49 million students around Southeast Asia, training them through sports education, training them through sports sciences. On that dad's 60 years, coupled with my 40 years in training, we've got 100 years of the Paes system where we're putting it into a portal right now to get out to the grassroots levels through schools, through academies, through rural areas, where our scouts go out, pick talent, and then nurture them to develop champions. So really, if you look at how wonderfully Modi ji and India has put the hand up to host the 2036 Olympics, that's 13 years away. So God willing, if we do get the Olympics here, even a 10-year-old today, nurtured over the next 13 years, will be 23 and eligible and be an aspirant to win an Olympic medal. So the methodology is very simple. 10,000 hours, 3 million perfect repetitions, 10 years, you can master any craft. So that whole physical athletic education system that is developed in the Paes family, that is not specific on just technical cover drives in cricket or short corners in hockey or free throws in basketball or even aces in tennis. It's about acquiring the necessary muscle memory through physical fitness, mental fitness, and emotional fitness. And that is my journey, is to get out there. And not everything is about winning Olympic medals. Not everything is about winning Grand Slams and world championships, but it is about quality of life. It's a quality of health. If you look at the stresses today on any human being across the world, medical stress, financial stress, cost of living, relationship stress, you go through people who go through depression. Playing sport allows you to release endorphins and good hormones that give you happiness. And in a world that is so vulnerable today, where you got wars going on across the world, you got so many hardships going on across the world, you got cost of living and inflation rising, sport is a great vehicle to actually bring happiness to people. And this is something that I think is really important, is to play sport, get the youth out there, get them into sport, to release happiness, to take care of mental health issues, to take care of peer pressure issues, to take care of social media risks that are out there. So I feel like that is something that's important to me. I take the responsibility of nurturing young kids very seriously. I think it's important to set examples for them to be the best versions of themselves. And just as our parents did with us, it's our responsibility to create opportunity for kids for the next generation.
Okay, fair point, Leander. You talk about the non-tangible benefits of sport as well, of playing sport. But I take you back to that question. The number one tennis player says that he doesn't have too much money. How does that help the next generation? Firstly, affording a sport like tennis and then making a living out of it.
That's right. So in that second half of that answer, when you look at a event like the IPL, this is where the BCCI and the cricket governing body gets a lot of kudos and respect, in my humble opinion. The BCCI as a governing body looks after their past athletes by giving them jobs, umpires, third umpires, governance. Roger Uncle is now the president of the BCCI, and he's running that show right from the front with Jay Shah. So when you look at the whole governing body of BCCI, they've gotten the right powers that be in the right positions to make it a very successful in governing body. And that is why IPL as one event, as one league, is the biggest league in the whole world. It's even bigger than Formula One. The amount of money that is generated, pertinent to the question that you ask, the amount of money that is generated through corporate sponsorships of on-field branding, on-camera branding, is so immense that athletes and players get auctioned for millions of dollars. I'm not even talking about 6 crores and 5 crores. Not even talking about 80,000 rupees that Sumit Nagal is talking about. I'm talking about a Hardik Pandya going for 11 crores or 12 crores. And I'm not even talking the cream of the crop. Let's talk about a Rinku Singh. I haven't heard of a Rinku Singh before those sixes that he hit or after the sixes that he hit. But during the IPL, Rinku Singh was a household name and a legend in Kolkata for the Knight Riders. So in that, I feel like leagues like the IPL, I feel like events like that, I feel like governing bodies like the BCCI need to be learned from. You need to replicate that. Other governing bodies of other sporting associations need to learn from that and look after their present athletes and look after their future athletes. On Marine Drive itself, there are more cricketing clubs than there are tennis clubs in the whole country. And I think that is something that needs to be learned from. The amount of money that is churned from one athlete in the IPL is more money that is spent on tennis in running of tennis. So in that, I feel like I'm always one to be very positive. I'm always one to find a solution rather than sit back on an armchair and criticize and pull fingers at people. And I feel that it's important, like for people like us, to come back and actually do something good. People like us to come back and promote the sport. People like us to come back and find a way. So through the Tennis Premier League that I've had, we just finished season 5. And here now, the league is growing year after year. Next year, we're hoping to take the league international and take it to Dubai or the Middle East. And in that, getting Indian athletes, Indian tennis players to rub shoulders with Grand Slam champions and rub shoulders with international players so that they better their craft, and also to bring corporate dollar to this or corporate rupee to this so that the athletes benefit. In that, I feel like sports like javelin, sports like shooting, sports like pickleball, sports like that are growing. Sports like badminton are growing such leaps and bounds. Look at Kabaddi League, look at table tennis the way they're doing, look at badminton the way they're doing. I think that sports like that are really coming forward and challenging tennis, where tennis was firmly the second sport after cricket in the 90s when I won my Olympic medal and I won my Grand Slams. Today, tennis is kind of dropping as far as there's a big void as far as athletes to come in. So, unlike, I don't like sitting back and pointing fingers. I want to be the game changer. I want to be the one making a difference. That is why I'm going to the grassroots through tennis, through cricket, through hockey, through football, through track and field, through swimming, through physical fitness, mental fitness, and emotional fitness, getting into the grassroots to nurture athletes to have a feeder system coming up.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm go back to your previous answer, Leander, where you speak about the benefits of having the Olympic Games and how that can help a nation become a sporting nation. But what would you tell those that point out that having or organizing an Olympic Games is a loss-making exercise? You lose billions of dollars, which could very well be put into grassroots programs, as you're talking about, or other levels of sport. Do you see a balance there? Do you see one thing being better than the other? How do you see India hosting those Olympic Games?
Well, I know that the Olympic Games are huge for an economy. Sure, like any business, you can have failures and you can have successes. The Olympic Games is a phenomenal vehicle to showcase the history and culture of India. I feel that that is a big plus point to be able to showcase our tourism, to be able to showcase our history, to be able to boost our economy, not just through the real estate itself, but through the sporting heritage that we have by bringing the whole world to India and showcasing what the Olympic spirit is about. I myself am an Olympic baby. I grew up to parents who captained India in sport and won an Olympic medal in 1972. And being a second generation Olympic champion, I know all too well that the success stories of the Olympics is not only on a podium. It's about encouraging our youth who are so caught up with social media, so caught up with their smart gadgets, so caught up in the modern risks of modern society. And I'm not even going to mention them. All our viewers know what I'm talking about here. But to nurture our youth through good health, through good physical health, through good mental health, through teaching them leadership and teamwork through sport. Sport is a great vehicle to encourage our youth where they can get scholarships around the world to education. They can get great jobs around the world just by being athletes. And at the same time, learn skills like leadership, camaraderie, and learn how to lose gracefully and win gracefully. To me, the character building that sport give, I know all too well. I've done the Olympics for 7 Olympics consecutively, and that's 30 years of that. So in that, I've lived my whole life as an athlete to represent my country, represent my people on a global scale. And I can tell you with utmost confidence that bringing the Olympics to India in 2036 will be a phenomenal effort to actually boost not only the economy of India, but to boost the morale of the youth in our country, that we can showcase goodness and well-being through sport.
Okay, I'm going to bring you back to tennis, Leander. And the one question that gets asked very often when you're talking about Indian tennis is, why doesn't Indian tennis achieve the kind of success that it achieves at the doubles level in singles? Now, I remember you having watched you 1993. Davis Cup comes to my mind. You beating Anand Bosche at that time. I remember you beating Pete Sampras at the Pilot Pen. I remember you winning that singles medal at the Olympic Games. So there was success there. Why is it that for Sanya too, she started off as a singles player, then went on to playing doubles and then won a lot of Grand Slams. Why is it that Indians are not able to replicate that in the singles form? And I know you're a big one on genetics. Does that play a role here?
Yes, genetics play a big role here in terms of the physicality of the demands of the sport. So if you look at contact sport, right, like rugby, football, basketball, Indians don't really excel in that. When you look at cerebral sports like chess, badminton, tennis, cricket, um, Indians really excel at that. Even if you look at hockey, which is our national sport, when we played hockey on grass, we excelled in it. We won the Olympics and then won medals at the Olympics all the way till 1980. When you look at the minute hockey moved to AstroTurf and became more physical and faster and more contact, we haven't done so well as much as we did in the 70s and the 60s, So I feel like when you look at sport like tennis, where the demands physically are so much on the physical attributes, where the average height of a tennis player today is about 6'3", 6'4". I mean, I'm 5'10" on a good day. Secondly, when you actually look at the mental aptitude and the physical aptitude of the professional athletes on the pro tour, Rafa Nadal and Djokovic are playing matches that last 5 hours, 6 hours. They can barely stand in prize ceremonies after the match. When you look at Serena Williams, Venus Williams, you look at Iga Swiatek today, you look at Sabalenka, their physical prowess is really daunting. So in that, I feel like the doubles game is more, Indians are more made up for the doubles game. I feel like when you look at the current tennis players, I have so much respect for them because, as Sumit says, with a lack of funding and a lack of support, they're still out there on the international circuit, working day in and day out, traveling. 99% of tennis tournament guys are outside the country. They're not in India. Our cricket team has the luxury of playing 70 to 80% of the year in India. IPL is in India. So there's a whole world of difference when you talk about a global sport like tennis, where sometimes you have to travel to Auckland, New Zealand, and other times you have to travel to Machu Picchu, Peru. The vastness of travel and the expense of conducting a professional tennis career is immense. You don't have a association that pays for that. You don't have a governing body. You don't have a club that bears your expenses. You got to do it yourself. So I have tremendous respect for every individual professional athlete, not just in tennis, but in track and field, in badminton, in shooting. I mean, 99% of our athletes in India outside cricket are all doing it on their own family's esteem, are all doing it on their own individual capacity. And to me, to every one of those boys and girls out there, I tip my hat in respect for all of them. They are the true patriots of our country who go out there to be the best that they can be in their field.
Okay, interesting. I have a counter argument on the genetics bit, as you mentioned, and I'm going to quote one of your favorite sport or your most favorite sport, that is football. And it's interesting that I'm speaking to you on the 1-year anniversary of that FIFA World Cup final, which I know you were in attendance there, watching that particular game, Lionel Messi winning that. So the argument is, if physical sport and if Indians aren't made up for that, what do you make of a Lionel Messi? You talk about you being 5'10" on a good day, a 5 feet 6 inches Lionel Messi, a 5 feet 7 inches Andres Iniesta, or a 5 feet 8 inches Xavi Hernandez. How is it that those guys with that physicality are able to compete in probably the most competitive sport in the world, and then we as Indians struggle? Is it the lack of the system, or is it again down to genetics?
Not a bad point of view, but a mediocre argument. Because Lionel Messi is playing in a position, Xavi is playing in a position that is a striker, a ball handler in the front of the field. If you put Lionel Messi as a defender or as a goalkeeper, he wouldn't make his gully football team, let alone play for Argentina in the World Cup. If you put certain positions need certain genetics. That is the first point to answer to your conversation. Secondly, is that the style of play that a Xavi or an Iniesta, also a short guy, or a Pele, also a short guy, or a Messi play, the style of play is very different to a Ibrahimovic or to a Cristiano Ronaldo, right? That's one. Secondly, you forget that Lionel Messi as an 11-year-old was picked up by Barcelona FC, picked out of Buenos Aires, and taken to Barcelona to train in Nou Camp. Now, I've trained in Nou Camp. I know how professional their sports science centers are. I know how professional their sports knowledge is. I know how professional their playing arenas are. I know how professional their online academics are, which are very important to the Indian ecosystem and the Indian psychology to continue your academics while you're taking a risk at your real profession, which is sport. We're still fighting a day and age today in the 21st century where parents are doubtful and worried, and rightly so, that if you don't make it and earn a living playing sport, then what is your fallback? So academics still become primary in an Indian psychology or in Indian culture. Whereas now, at least, our young girls are able to avail of equal scholarships to American colleges as boys do. Because Title IX, which is basically a technical system in the NCAA system, that every university that has 3,000 or 4,000 scholarships for boys also has to have 3,000 or 4,000 scholarships for girls. So any university like Harvard or UCLA or USC or the Tar Heels that have an American football team with 133 scholarships for the boys have to equal that on the girls' side. So hence, on the boys' tennis team, you maybe have 2 or 3 scholarships, but on the girls' tennis team, you have 10 scholarships. On the boys' football team, soccer team, that is, in America, they call it soccer there. Apart from American football, the American soccer team on the boys' side, you may have 10 scholarships, whereas on the girls' side, you have 30 scholarships. So hence, our Indian girls are also availing of academic scholarships when they go to play for a college in America. And I think these are the nuances of knowledge that need to be shared with our Indian parents, because you got to coach the parents just as much as you got to coach the athletes. In fact, even more so, because where would an average middle-class mother or father be willing to take the risk of sending their child at the age of 16 or 17, let alone at the age of 11 when I left, abroad, not to Chennai, not to Gujarat, not to Haryana, but sending them abroad, a 23-hour flight away, to take the risk of being a professional athlete. So your point is valid, but the argument is weak because of the fact that genetics play a huge role in terms of Indian philosophy and ethnicity and culture in terms of preparing the parents to build world champions is also very important in terms of the ecosystem of sport in our country.
Okay, one final question, Leander, before I let you go. I know you've had a long day doing plenty of interviews, and this is again pertaining to tennis. Just a few days ago, we had the Indian team, the Davis Cup team, being announced to tour Pakistan. This is going to be the first time in 60 years that India is going to be touring Pakistan, an opportunity you did not have. What do you make of that?
I always love doing interviews with you because you push my mind, you push my boundaries of thinking. And this one, you're really right. I wish I could have at one point played in Pakistan, but the two times that I played in played against Pakistan, one was we played in Bombay, which was called Bombay at that time as well, in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. And we converted the outfield of the CCI cricket field into a grass court tennis stadium. And we brought in the Malis over from Calcutta South Club and we prepared these courts over 6 months. And I won the fifth rubber against Akil Khan, where we played a mammoth 3 days of tennis and many hours of sitting on the bench through Rohan and Prakash's match and playing doubles with Mahesh. And then Rohan decided not to play the fifth match, God knows why. But I eventually had to end up playing that fifth rubber and eventually won that fifth rubber for India, which was wonderful. The second time we played Pakistan was a couple years ago, and we played in a neutral venue where most of the boys did not want to go and play. So the few boys that did put their hands up to come and play were the second string of players, and I'm so proud of all of them to come out and actually beat Pakistan fairly comfortably in the winter. I think we played in Astana, and
Yes.
the boys did a great job to come out and play, and especially Jivan Nezuncherian, who was my doubles partner at that time. He did really well and played some great tennis in beating Pakistan. But it's going to be a very interesting one to see which of the boys actually put their hand up. I mean, right now you've got Sumit Nagal there, you've got Ramkumar Ramanathan, you've got Prajnesh is injured at the moment, but you've got a whole string of doubles guys also who can come and play. I'm not worried about India beating Pakistan in tennis in Davis Cup, but I'm concerned as to which one of the boys put their hands up to go, and that'll be very interesting to see how it unfolds.
But would you be concerned about security or anything like that? If you were one of the boys playing today and your association said, go and play there, you'd do that?
I would have loved to have gone. I always put my hand up when it comes to playing for the country. And also when it comes to national security, then it's left to the powers up in Delhi to protect us and our governing body, the All India Tennis Association, to protect us. So I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that they will do their best to protect our team. That being said, you could be sitting anywhere in the world today, as you can see how vulnerable the world is, and a terrorist attack coming anywhere. I mean, my parents were in Munich, Germany, when Palestinian terrorists took Israeli athletes hostage, and so on and so forth. And I myself was in Atlanta, sitting at the AT&T garden when a bomb went off there. So, are you safe anywhere in the world today? Not quite sure, but you have to have faith in your own karma. You have to have faith in the powers that be. That sport as a vehicle has always stood the test of time. World War II was stopped so that the Olympics could continue. So I believe that the love and the passion and the goodness of sport as a vehicle unite the world. And sure, are we going to have negativities around the world, to say the least? Sure, you're going to. But I believe sport is the one vehicle that is inclusive, that brings the world together in competitive nature of Davis Cup or of competition, to actually bring happiness and faith and goodness around the world. And that's what I like to believe. And I've been very blessed to have played a sport like tennis, which has equal prize money, equal opportunity, equal rights, to showcase around the world the goodness of sport. And I think that will continue for generations and generations to come. Sport is the greatest way to nurture our youth and give them jobs, give them education, and give them a way to put bread and butter on the table. Especially now when there's a lot of vulnerability around the world, sport's a great vehicle.
Leander, thank you so much for being generous with your time, speaking to us here at India Today. Here's wishing you all the very best in your future endeavors, where you talk about touching the grassroots, and maybe you always inspire the next generation, but actually, going down to the grassroots and helping them, graduate to the next level across sport. All the very best with that.
I always love being in interviews with you. You got me there on that one in the Munich Olympics. And to all our India Today viewers out there, bring happiness and love around you. The world's in a very vulnerable state at the moment, and with a bit of empathy and a bit of love and a bit of inclusivity, you can bring happiness to anybody. This International Tennis Hall of Fame induction belongs to each and every one of you, and I bow my head in gratitude for all the decades of support you've given me. Jai Hind, Namaste.
मैच से जुड़े आपके हर सवाल का हम देंगे जवाब। जानने के लिए हर अपडेट, लाइव एनालिसिस, स्पेशल इंटरव्यूज, डाउनलोड कीजिए स्पोर्ट्स तक ऐप।